There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart, when the world you knew suddenly becomes a place of silence and shadows. It feels like someone has turned off the light inside you, and no matter how hard you try, you can't find the switch again. This is the story of a young man named Rihan, who once lost all hope and discovered that even in the darkest night, there is a light that never dies. Rihan lived in a small coastal town, where the sea met the cliffs and the wind always carried the smell of salt and rain. He was a musician, known for playing the violin so beautifully that people said his music could make even the waves pause to listen. His dream was simple: to travel the world, to play his music in front of people, to fill lives with joy. But dreams are fragile, and one stormy night changed everything. A sudden accident took away the one thing Rihan loved most, his ability to hear. A fever that came without warning left him completely deaf. For days, he refused to believe it. He would sit by his window with his violin, press the strings, and wait for a sound that would never come. The silence was unbearable. The music that once flowed through him was now trapped inside, unreachable. He stopped playing, stopped smiling, and began to live like a shadow of who he once was. Weeks turned into months. His friends visited, trying to help, but he pushed them all away. "What's the use of a musician who cannot hear?" he would write on a small chalkboard, shaking his head. He started spending his days wandering along the empty beach, listening not with his ears but with his heart to the soundless waves crashing against the rocks. One evening, when the sky was turning orange and the sea shimmered with the last light of day, he saw an old man sitting alone near the lighthouse, sketching in a worn notebook. The old man looked up and smiled at him, gesturing for Rihan to come closer. Rihan hesitated, but something about the man's calmness pulled him in. When Rihan sat down, the old man wrote a message on a piece of paper and handed it to him. "Beautiful, isn't it? The sunset speaks even when there's no sound." Rihan nodded quietly. They sat together in silence for a long time, watching the waves. Then the old man wrote again, "I used to be a sailor. One night, a storm took my ship and my crew. I was the only one who survived. For years, I hated the sea, hated the darkness it brought me. But one day, I realized the same sea that took everything away also gave me another chance to begin again. Pain and hope are like the tide. They both come and go." Rihan stared at the words for a long time. The old man's eyes were full of peace, not bitterness. Before leaving, the man tore a page from his notebook and handed it to Rihan. On it was a drawing of a single candle burning in a dark room. Beneath it, he had written, "You cannot chase away darkness by fighting it. You chase it away by lighting even a small flame." That night, Rihan couldn't sleep. He sat by his window with the drawing in his hand and thought about the candle. For the first time, he realized he had spent all his days cursing the darkness instead of looking for a light. He took out his violin, the one that had been gathering dust, and held it close. He couldn't hear it anymore, but maybe, just maybe, he could still feel it. He began to play slowly, not with his ears but with his memory. The vibrations ran through his fingers, through his arms, through his heart. At first, it was strange, almost painful. But then something incredible happened. He began to feel the rhythm. The music was no longer sound, it was movement, energy, life. He closed his eyes, and in the silence, he found a new kind of music, one that no silence could take away. From that day forward, Rihan started playing again. He went to the streets, to the parks, to the same seaside where he had once walked in despair. People gathered around him, moved not just by the beauty of his music but by the light in his eyes. Though he could not hear the world could hear his soul. His fingers spoke what words and sounds could not. One evening, while he was playing near the lighthouse, he noticed a little girl standing far from the crowd. She was crying softly, holding a broken flute in her hands. After he finished playing, Rihan walked up to her and knelt down. She handed him the flute and wrote on a small note, "It broke yesterday. I can't play anymore." Rihan smiled gently and wrote back, "Maybe it's not the flute that needs fixing. Maybe it's your heart that needs music again." He placed the flute back in her hands and guided her fingers to play, using rhythm and gesture instead of words. The girl smiled for the first time, and though the sound was broken, it was beautiful. In that moment, Rihan realized something profound. Sometimes, life breaks you not to end your story, but to help you write a new one. The light you are searching for is not out there in the world, it's the spark that's been waiting inside you all along. Years passed, and Rihan became known not just as a musician, but as a teacher who helped children with hearing loss discover the joy of music through touch and vibration. He would often tell them, through signs and smiles, when life takes away one sense, it gives you another. When it takes away sound, it gives you feeling. When it takes away light, it teaches you to glow. And every night, before going to sleep, he would light a small candle by his window, a reminder of the drawing the old man had once given him. He never saw the old sailor again, but he carried his message forever, that light doesn't come from outside, it grows from the courage to keep going even when everything seems lost. So if you ever find yourself walking through your own darkness, remember Rihan's story. The night may be long, and the pain may feel endless, but within you is a spark that no storm can ever wash away. Don't wait for someone to bring you light, become the light yourself. Because the truth is, the light we find in our darkest days is often the one that guides us for the rest of our lives.